In the news tonight, British Defence Secretary Michael Fallon visits the Royal Air Force base in Cyprus and urges troops to hit hard at Daesh in Syria, saying airstrikes can cut off the group's sources of revenue. Iraq's foreign ministry summons Turkey's ambassador to protest at the deployment of Turkish forces in Mosul, and the president describes the move as a violation of international norms and law. And some 1,000 professionals attend the Teachers' Skills Forum organised by the Queen Rania Teachers Academy by the shores of the Dead Sea under the theme From What to Teach to How to Teach. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Here are the details. In Lebanon, 3 people were killed during a raid, the latest in a series of arrest raids across the country since 2 suicide bomb blasts claimed by Daesh killed 44 people in a crowded commercial and a residential area of Beirut last month. The suspected militant and 2 members of his family were killed after the man blew himself up during an army raid on his home. Here's more.
An apartment building near Tripoli, Lebanon was left in shambles after the attempted arrest of a suspected Islamist militant. Security officials say during an army raid, the target blew himself up. The bomb also killed the wife and mother of the suspect, who was named as Mohammed Hamza. A neighbor says it all started around 4 in the morning.
We heard a lot of people shouting. The army was speaking to the militant, telling him to surrender, and he was answering back, and there were women screaming. Then he threw a grenade at the army, which did not explode. After that, according to what one of the injured soldiers told me later, he opened the door. His mother, wife, and niece were behind him. He walked about 2 meters and blew himself up.
At least 10 others were wounded, including 4 security personnel. A security source says Hamza was part of a group that had pledged allegiance to Islamic State.
And over to Syria, where British bombers made their second round of strikes on Daesh targets in the country late yesterday, again hitting oil fields to the east of the country. Hours after British lawmakers approved the bombing of Daesh targets in Syria on Thursday, the Typhoon fighter bombers struck the oil fields that the government says are being used to fund attacks on the west. British Defence Secretary Michael Fallon said airstrikes can make a difference in starting to squeeze Daesh back into its heartland, reduce its ability to resupply and reinforce over in Iraq, and to cut off its sources of revenue, adding that the group has been making a lot of money out of oil. Fallon spoke while on a visit to the Royal Air Force's base in Cyprus, where bombers take off for strikes in Syria.
Last night, the RAF Typhoon aircraft, our newest aircraft that had only arrived from Britain the day before, were in action and successfully striking oil wellheads in eastern Syria. It is oil that underpins the terrorism that we've seen and helps ISIL-Daesh finance their terrorist operations.
And the United States and its allies targeted Daesh with 23 strikes in Iraq and Syria since yesterday. A U.S. military statement said 7 of the 12 strikes in Iraq hit Daesh tactical units, buildings and a weapons cache near Ramadi. While in Syria, 3 of the 11 strikes were near Ma'arra that destroyed a building and 3 tactical units. In Iraq, the Iraqi Foreign Ministry has summoned Turkey's ambassador to protest at the deployment of Turkish forces inside northern Iraq and to demand withdrawal. The ministry said the Turkish forces had entered Iraqi territory without the knowledge of the central government in Baghdad, and that Iraq considered such presence a hostile act. Iraqi President Fahd Massoum earlier described the deployment as a violation of international norms and law. In an online statement, Massoum called on Turkey to withdraw the troops. A Turkish security source stated yesterday the forces were deployed to provide training for members of the Hashd Watani near Mosul. But Mosul Provincial Council member Hashem Berfikani said there aren't any Turkish fighting forces in the base, but there are 50 Turkish trainers, and now there are more than 200 military trainers and advisors. News of the Turkish troops in Iraq comes shortly after Ankara's motives in the war on Daesh has come under question. Shiite leader Hakim al-Zamili said the Iraqi parliament should stand up to the intrusion.
وعدم قدرتنا على مجابهة الأتراك In case of our failure to face the Turks because of our war on multiple fronts against Daesh radicalism, we need international support. We find that America has support of more than 60 countries and also Turkey. That's why a different coalition needs to be formed against the first one. And I think that the best who we could be cooperating with is Russia. And it's the time to ask for the Russian airstrikes to help Iraq get rid of any enemy, whether it's the soon ending Daesh or the new enemy with the new face of the Islamic Arab Turkish American army.
The United Nations envoy to Yemen met President Abd Rabbo Mansour Hadi to discuss prospects for peace talks between the government and Houthi forces, according to a statement by the President's office. Hadi's office said UN envoy Ismail Ould Sheikh Ahmed's talks with the President aimed to lay the groundwork for a second round of talks in Geneva, and Hadi said in a statement he welcomed the efforts. No date was declared for the talks. Diplomats say the talks may take place this month in Switzerland, but some Yemeni officials have expressed skepticism that they will go ahead. Previous UN-led efforts to end the conflict through dialogue have failed, and battles continue to rage across the country. Back here at home and under the patronage of Her Majesty Queen Rania, the Teachers' Skills Forum 2015 convened by the Dead Sea Shores with the participation of about 1,000 professionals from across the world. Organized by the Queen Rania Teacher Academy, the two-day forum gathers academicians and education experts to share and explore evidence-based research on the best teaching practices and strategies and how to turn theories into practice. The Academy's CEO, Haif Banyan, said in light of the feedback received from last year's event, this year the forum was designed to also provide the teachers with instructions on how to implement the newly acquired skills in schools. The forum convenes under the theme, Bridging the Gap from What to How, from What Do We Teach to How Do We Teach. In the latest on the California shooting, Daesh has claimed that the married couple who killed 14 people in California in an attack the FBI is investigating as an act of terrorism were followers of the terrorist group. The declaration in an online radio broadcast came 3 days after US-born Sayyid Rizwan Farouk and his spouse, Tashfeen Malik, a native of Pakistan, carried out the attack on a holiday party for civil servants in San Bernardino. The two died hours later in a shootout with police. U.S. government sources have said Malik and her husband may have been inspired by Daesh, but there was no evidence the attack was directed by the group or that the organization even knew who they were. The Swiss-led team trying to fly a solar-powered plane around the world made a stop at the Paris Climate Summit to send a message about using renewable energy technology to help stop climate change. Co-founder and pilot Andre Borschberg is attending the UN summit with co-pilot Bertrand Piccard. They say clean technologies are close to their hearts. Piccard believes their job is to motivate governments to implement existing clean technology while using his experiences with solar impulse as an example. Borschberg says that pushing the limits inspires greater innovation. The two men's goal is to fly around the world in solar impulse too.
We still have technologies that are 100 years old. Combustion engines, incandescent light bulbs, old system of distribution of energy, bad insulation of houses. If we were to solve this energy efficiency problem, we could divide by 2 the CO2 emissions of the world. So the solutions exist, and so many people are convinced of it.
But when you do such a project, you realize the potential of these technologies, because you can't cheat on an airplane like this. If it's too heavy, it doesn't fly, and if it's slightly too heavy, it doesn't fly through the night. So you have to go to the limits, but you see the potential, you see what can be done.
Devastating floods continue to swamp southern India, leaving tens of thousands of people homeless in the state of Tamil Nadu. At least 280 people have been killed in recent weeks due to the flooding. Chennai, the state capital of Tamil Nadu and India's fourth largest city, saw its wettest December day in more than a century earlier this week. As of yesterday, large parts of the city were still underwater, along with the region's biggest airport. Passenger flights have not yet started, as the airport terminal is waterlogged and it could be days before it is fully operational. Excitement continues to build with the theatrical release of Disney's Star Wars: The Force Awakens just 2 weeks away. Thousands of fans amassed in the exhibition hall in Manchester, England, which has been transformed into a galaxy far, far away for one weekend. The event has attracted old and new fans from all ages and has managed to sell more than 20,000 tickets. The convention featured actors from the original trilogy. Star Wars actors and fans hope The Force Awakens, which will be released worldwide on the 18th, will inspire a new generation of young fans.
Reboot, plus my son's 9, and with Lego Star Wars and all of that coming through, it's going to be the same for them. They're going to have a fantastic feeling. You know, it's going to be part of their new generation.
To continue the Star Wars saga for quite a few years to come. Unfortunately, as I said, I was only in 4, 5 and 6. You know, which I very much like to have been in 7, 8, 9 as well, but it wasn't to be.
A family-run children's clothing shop in Spain has been inundated with orders from around the world for dresses identical to the one worn by Britain's Princess Charlotte in the latest official photos. 6-month-old Charlotte was pictured wearing the pink smocked dress with ruffled neck in photos taken by her mother, Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge. Fashion blogs and celebrity magazines could not determine the origin of the prince's dress. The designer of M&H, Margarita Pato, said that while in Spain the interest in the dress has soared, in England it's almost a revolution. But the shop is not going to crank up production because there are only 10 meters left of the fabric, enough to make just 20 more dresses already ordered to clients in Japan, Australia and the UK. The dress costs almost $33.
Compré la revista y me dio un ataque de nervios y digo,
I bought the dress and I had an attack of nerves. It's my dress, 1000%. I had a piece of the fabric at home and then I compared it. I called Ola.com and I said, I just bought your magazine and I'm the designer of the dress. They were extremely happy. It was madness, madness. From then on, it was the last 3 days they have been like a dream. I haven't stopped giving interviews. I get calls from all over. I'm so happy and very proud, and what less concerns me is whether I make a profit. I'm completely unconcerned about that. Just this is a super prize.
Y orgullosísima.
His Royal Highness Prince Ali ibn al-Hussein promised transparency to get rid of corruption as the main asset of his campaign to become president of FIFA. Speaking in Washington, D.C., Prince Ali said the clock on corruption has run out and it is time for a change. Prince Ali formally submitted his candidature to be FIFA president in mid-October. He is among 5 candidates seeking to replace Sepp Blatter in the February 26 election in Zurich. Prince Ali said that all of FIFA's problems stem from a crisis of leadership and they will be resolved as long as the voting system does a good job in the upcoming elections. And on FIFA's corruption scandal, Prince Ali said it is a real shame.
In 2011, I was elected to represent my region, Asia, on the FIFA Executive Committee, with a mandate to push for change and support the development of football. It turned out to be a very frustrating experience that led me to 2 conclusions. Firstly, I could not remain on the executive committee unless FIFA changed the way it conducted its business. Secondly, I recognized that the only way to change FIFA was a change of leadership. I know that a lot of the people in football are ashamed to wear the FIFA badge right now. They want to improve the image of FIFA. There are a lot of people from younger generations who want to be involved as well in decision-making in FIFA. So if we get things right, I think that the future is bright.
17 of the world's leading international BMX, FMX and MTB quad and snowmobile riders dazzled the crowd as they performed daredevil stunts at the world-renowned Masters of Dirt Freestyle Motocross in Dubai. The riders performed flips up to 40 meters high and jumps that were over 24 meters long. Some of the stunts have never been seen in the region before, including backflips, tail whips, and signature moves named the Cliffhanger and Tsunami. Bienvenido Aguado was the only rider worldwide who was able to perform the incredible double front flip move with his mountain bike. And finally, very cold conditions continue for the rest of tonight, with frost forming in most regions of the kingdom, including the Jordan Valley. Similar conditions prevail across the kingdom tomorrow, with low-altitude clouds and temperatures 5 to 6 degrees below their seasonal average. Winds will be northwesterly moderate to brisk. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect relatively cold conditions, with northerly moderate to brisk winds and slightly high seas. Here now is the local temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. British Defence Secretary Michael Fallon visits the Royal Air Force's base in Cyprus and urges troops to hit harder Daesh in Syria, saying airstrikes can cut off the group's sources of revenue. Iraq's foreign ministry summons Turkey's ambassador to protest at the deployment of Turkish forces in Mosul, and the president describes the move as a violation of international norms and law. And some 1,000 professionals attend the Teachers' Skills Forum, organized by the Queen Rania Teachers Academy by the shores of the Dead Sea, under the theme From What to Teach to How to Teach. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Ali Tuqan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.